All right, 49ers update. This is significant because it pertains to the offensive line. It pertains to a starter from the Super Bowl that the 49ers recently lost to the Kansas City Chiefs. Jon Feliciano has announced his retirement, but it comes with an asterisk, and we can see that asterisk right now. Here is Feliciano's post on social media saying that he started playing football 19 years ago as a freshman in high school, then went to the University of Miami, finished in a 49ers uniform. You see here on the right, it's a long 4-page retirement message from Jon Feliciano, includes pictures from his time with the Bills. That's him and Josh Allen. Also includes this photo from his time with the 49ers. Started with the Raiders. I don't see any Raiders photos here for Jon Feliciano, but he also had a year with the New York Giants where he played center. And he finishes his note about retirement by mentioning that he'll be ready for a playoff run in December if you need me, speaking to the Bills and the 49ers. So this is a retirement, but it seems that Jon Feliciano is still leaving the opportunity to return on the table. A couple months ago, when I spoke to him after the 49ers shut him down for the 2024 season due to the knee issue, he said that he would try to give it a go one more time for the 2025 season. But now he writes that after months of weighing my options, I realized I had to leave the game. The fire is still there, but I know I can't last the full season and can't bring myself to let people down. Being on a team and unable to help out your boys is rough. That being said, Buffalo or San Francisco, I'll be ready for a playoff run in December if you need me. So Jon really, really wants to play. He even said in his retirement note that the 2023 season was the best of his career. That was his one season with the 49ers. Then came the knee issue. He had the knee operation, and it caused him to miss all of 2024. We were wondering throughout the entire 2024 season when Feliciano would return, and Feliciano was wondering the same thing. He even saw his practice window open to return from injured reserve. But the 49ers never fully activated him because the knee never responded fully the way that the 49ers needed it to for a return to actually happen. So it was eminently frustrating. After the practice window for Feliciano closed without an activation, is when he said that he wanted to give it another go in 2025. But I think the knee just has never fully cooperated since the moment of that operation. And now he's come to the conclusion that there's only a small spurt of football left in him. And if the 49ers or the Bills, the two teams for whom he most enjoyed playing, if they do need him for a potential postseason run, he's going to stay in shape. And you never know what's going to happen in this league. It's a long time away, but he's going to stay in shape and potentially be available for the 49ers or the Bills. But in all likelihood, the journey is over for Jon Feliciano. Really classy goodbye letter. Thanked so many of his mentors, thanked his former teams. Although I do think that it is notable that the Oakland Raiders or the Las Vegas Raiders didn't get a picture here. He did say that the Raiders who picked them in the 4th round provided him with Rodney Hudson, the great center, the former center of the Raiders, who he calls a grumpy SOB. But Rodney Hudson was the mentor for Jon Feliciano. And I look at that and I say, man, he got the benefit of learning from one of the best to do it in Rodney Hudson, the center position. Then he played center for a full year with the New York Giants. That's in this photo right here, wearing the 76 for the Giants. One has to wonder if Jon Feliciano had been healthy enough to return this past season, would he have taken over for Jake Brendel? I've talked a lot with Jon Feliciano, but I actually had never spoken with him about the whole Rodney Hudson mentorship with the Raiders. That was from 2015 to 2018 after Feliciano was a fourth-round draft pick. And of course, I knew that he had played center for the New York Giants, but there's a deeper background than even that. And the 49ers started really struggling on the interior at center with Jake Brendel dealing with a knee tendonitis this past season. Unfortunately, the 49ers had two veteran centers on their roster in Brendel and Feliciano, and both were dealing with knee issues in the 2024 season. So just really the way that the story went for San Francisco didn't work out for them at that interior line, mainly because of those injuries. Because Brendel had played really well in 2022, really started to regress by the end of 2023, and the 2024 season was rough. Meanwhile, in 2023, after Spencer Burford had opened up the season struggling for the 49ers, San Francisco was able to go to Jon Feliciano to start at right guard. And one can argue that they would have won that Super Bowl had Feliciano not gotten hurt. And that ended up being the last time that we saw Jon Feliciano on an NFL football field. Didn't play for San Francisco in 2024 with the knee issue. Saw him a little bit during training camp, but not a lot. My main memory from this past season was John just watching practice wearing shorts and his jersey because he was dealing with that knee. And unfortunately, the end of the line, at least for now, was that Super Bowl where he had to exit with the injury. And we saw Spencer Burford come in, and obviously Burford didn't block Chris Jones when he was supposed to on the critical third down play in overtime, and the rest was history. The 49ers do not have a lot of guards under contract for the 2025 season. This is a position where they're going to have to make some transactions to be playable moving forward. Here's what the roster looks like at the guard position. Spencer Burford obviously can play guard, although he finished last season filling in at tackle for San Francisco. Nick Zakelj pass protected really well over his opportunity, the former roommate of Brock Purdy, sixth-round pick out of Fordham in 2022. I still think there are questions about Nick Zakelj's run blocking abilities, but his pass protection was actually very good to close the season. They have Dominic Pooney, who was a godsend for this football team in 2024. He's obviously going to remain at that guard position. So between Burford, Zakelj, and Pooney, you have only three guards who I project to make the 53-man roster. They added Zach Johnson to the team. That's a 90-man projection for me, not a 53-man projection until he shows some more. Need to see him in these offseason practices and then potentially into training camp. But that's only four guards on the 90-man. I know that you have Brendel and Hennessy and Drake Nugent. Those are three centers, but I think you're going to need more guard depth if you're the 49ers for 2025. Aaron Banks, his contract is going to be expiring next month, so I don't have him on this 2025 depth chart. So I think that guard is definitely a position to work on. Colton McKivitz has played guard for the 49ers in the past, but to vacate the right tackle position, I think that the 49ers would actually have to pick up another tackle. So we'll see how this offseason acquisition process goes, but the 49ers definitely have some work to do. Feliciano was never on the 2025 roster, but it seemed to be a chance that the 49ers would re-sign him since he was trying to play in 2025. As of now, he's not planning to play in 2025 unless a team calls him in December ahead of a potential postseason run. This show is brought to you by Rocket Money. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's premium features. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/gameon today. That's rocketmoney.com/gameon, rocketmoney.com/gameon. Find our State of the 49ers offensive line piece, because this is where the 49ers have to do that work at guard, and I think also some long-term work at tackle over the course of this offseason. But when I wrote this for the San Francisco Standard, I actually centered the piece on center. Fixing Brock Purdy's offensive line can start with one big investment. We could take a look at the metrics here of the 49ers offensive line through the years. In fact, I'm going to make this a little bit bigger for everybody. Take this screenshot. There you guys go. Red is bad, blue is good. In 2024, the 49ers actually found their way into the top half of the league in both pass block efficiency and pass block win rate. But as we saw at critical junctures, they struggled to pick up blitzes. They struggled to find the answers to the test that they had in some previous seasons. I know that it was a problem against Steve Spagnuolo in the Super Bowl to close the 2023 season. But I think that regressing play along the interior truly helped sink the 49ers by the time 2023 or 2024 was said and done. Both 2023 and 2024 can be assigned the same autopsy. I still remember the game against the Miami Dolphins where it wasn't a complex game up the middle. It was just Calais Campbell running a little twist with a fellow defensive tackle, and Jake Brendel didn't pick anybody up, and Brock Purdy got hit as he threw the football, and there was the game-ending interception. I mean, that is not a complicated pass rush maneuver. I know Calais Campbell is one of the best to ever do it. He knows the timing. He knows the nuance. He knows how to disguise himself, even after the play call, pass rush disguise, to be able to get by blockers. But Jake Brendel blocked nobody on the play, and the 49ers' chance to win the game in Miami died just like that. San Francisco needs better identification, better anchor, better pass protection from the very middle of its offensive line. As I said, Brendel was really good in 2022. He was actually number 6 in pass blocking efficiency amongst all centers in his first year starting. But there has been a regression, and the regression primarily hits center and left guard for the 49ers this past year. So Aaron Banks is no longer under contract. Dominic Pooney played some good football for the 49ers this year before hitting his rookie wall. I don't think that the rookie wall is going to be indicative of how Dominic Pooney is going to perform for the 49ers moving into the future. I think that we could probably look at his first 12 or 13 weeks of the season. But if we actually take a look at the overall offensive line efficiency from 2024, we can see exactly where Feliciano was hoped to have fit in for San Francisco once he could return from that knee injury, but obviously he didn't. And we can also see where the 49ers are going to have to make the biggest adjustments moving forward. There's a little here. Let's get rid of this. You guys can watch on here. This is much better. Pass blocking percentile. So you want to be above the 50th percentile to be above average. You also want to have that color shaded in blue. As you can see, left guard, center, and right guard all in red. Now, Pooney only dipped under 50 in the last few games of the season. So I totally get it. As a rookie, used to playing 12-game college seasons, he's thrust into a 17-game NFL schedule. There's going to be some growing pains toward the end of the season. He also was an excellent run blocker, the best on the entire 49ers offensive line in terms of run block percentile over the course of the season, and that didn't really regress. So you have to give Dominic Pooney his flowers. It was a good season for him, and he's going to be a fixture for the 49ers up front. But Banks is no longer under contract, and there were pass protection issues there. Jake Brendel is still under contract, but there were pass protection issues there. And I think there were some run blocking issues there too, especially within the context of the 49ers offense and some of those reach blocks. The percentile of the PFF grade is good, but we do know that Jake Brendel did not deliver his best football in 2024. Trent Williams obviously missed time at left tackle. They're going to hope that he's back and healthy and ready to play a full season this next year. That's going to be key for the 49ers. And Colton McKivitz was much better than people give him credit for. I mean, he was a second to fourth percentile pass blocker in 2023, and he improved to the 56th percentile. I think that's a testament to the Dominic Pooney presence next to him. Anyway, the gist here is that the interior offensive line needs to get better in pass protection. And Pooney is not a 49ers worry after what he did for the first 12 or 13 weeks of the season. So how do you become better at pass protection on the interior? Well, you definitely give Nick Zakelj a look. He was a 96th percentile guy there. The problem is the run blocking score was really bad. Here's the guy that I think the 49ers absolutely must re-sign. I've highlighted his name at the bottom. That is Ben Bartch. In fact, for this to show up a little bit bigger, let me run the same trick that I did before. How's this? Oh, this is way better, isn't it? You guys can see Ben Bartch's name at the very bottom. I mean, it was a limited sample for him. Only 65 snaps for Ben Bartch before he got hurt with the high ankle sprain against the Chicago Bears. But a 93rd percentile pass blocker, and also, unlike Nick Zakelj, above average run blocking. With only 4 guards now on the roster for the 49ers, and with Jon Feliciano not coming back, I think that it's mandatory that the 49ers re-sign somebody like Ben Bartch, because Aaron Banks obviously isn't coming back as well. They can look to the draft all they want, but they drafted Aaron Banks in the second round of the 2021 process, and it took him a full year behind the scenes. He only had 6 snaps as a rookie in 2021, garbage time at Jacksonville. It took Aaron Banks a full year to emerge into a day in, day out contributor. So if you want to fix the offensive line now, if you want to improve the offensive line now, I don't think that you can count on a rookie. I think Dominic Pooney was the exception and not the rule. That's why I say Dominic Pooney was a godsend to be able to show up and deliver as a rookie. I mean, Spencer Burford played as a rookie as well, and it was nowhere near as good as what Dominic Pooney was able to deliver for the 49ers in 2024. So somebody like Bartch, who is already developed in the system, you see him at the very bottom. If you could re-sign him, he might be able to plug right into one of those guard starting jobs for the 49ers. We will see what they do in the draft, and hey, maybe they use a very premium pick. Hell, maybe they even trade up for Will Campbell. I'm just kidding. I don't think that's going to happen. But maybe they do use an ultra premium pick to fill in one of the tackle positions immediately, and that would allow Colton McKivitz to move into a guard position. I think that the best, most efficient way to improve the entire offensive line is to upgrade center with a veteran. That's when we could start talking about Drew Dahlman. That's where we were talking about Jon Feliciano last season, because Feliciano had that center experience. I got to read some of Feliciano's retirement note where he credited Rodney Hudson. He went into the details of the center position. But that's why the 49ers have signed Matt Hennessy. They poached him off of Atlanta's practice squad, the successor to Alex Mack and the predecessor to Drew Dahlman in Atlanta. They still have Jake Brendel under contract. Maybe he could be healthier this offseason. Maybe he can bounce back and be a little bit better next year. But center, it always comes down to that position as far as efficient improvement goes, because center affects everybody else at a disproportionate level. Center is setting the protections. Center is doing some of the things that Jon Feliciano talked about in this retirement note. Fast forward a few years, I got drafted in the 4th round to the Oakland Raiders. Again, lost, because he was lost when he started in college at Miami. That was in the previous slide. And across the country, I needed a new North Star. That man was Rodney Hudson, the grumpiest SOB in Southwest Ranches. Rodney is, without a doubt, the best center I've ever played with. The man is a machine. You couldn't tell by his body. Rodney taught me how to be a pro. He took my film study to the next level and helped me learn coverages, when to flip protections, etc. All while I was trying to take his job, which I now know was impossible because he's a GOAT. But Rodney Hudson right here, this is the line that stood out to me. Learn coverages and when to flip protections. There's a lot on centers in the modern NFL and most systems. The centers take the responsibility of flipping the protections, of reading the safety rotations. So Jon Feliciano learned how to do that under Rodney Hudson. The 49ers delegate similar responsibilities to the center position. Jake Brendel, again, I think did a better job of that earlier in his career before the knee tendonitis than he has later in his career. I think there were several issues for the 49ers, and there have been snapping issues throughout. And it's going to be hard to convince me that the 49ers didn't hope that Jon Feliciano would return and take over the center position in 2024. That didn't happen. It's probably not going to happen in 2025, although he's leaving the slight possibility of a return for a playoff run in case a team like the 49ers needs him. But before then, San Francisco has a lot of work to do on its offensive line, and Feliciano will not be part of those efforts. They're going to have to use free agency. They're going to have to use the draft. We can talk forever about somebody like Drew Dahlman because center is the position that they have invested in before. It's center and tackle. They have not invested big money in guard. They've gone draft capital in guard. I do think they can get a budget veteran for one of the guard positions that can really help them in Ben Barch. And I think that that is further highlighted by Jon Feliciano's retirement today. So that is the latest news. It's time now for a 49ers Q&A. How's everybody doing on this beautiful Thursday? Somebody asking if Jake Moody is still on the team. Yes, Jake Moody is still on the team. I don't anticipate the 49ers will cut Jake Moody anytime soon this offseason. I think they're going to bring in kicking competition, and then maybe you cut Jake Moody if he gets beaten out. But right now, the roster is 90 players big. It's not like there is a fight for space on the roster until they cut this down in early September. Chris Furster doesn't think they need to draft O-lineman higher in the draft unless they go with the best player available, which is possible. Yeah, I mean, best player available, I think, is the mentality you've got to enter any draft with. You don't pick an offensive lineman just to pick an offensive lineman. That's the quickest way to pick a bad offensive lineman. And I think a bad offensive lineman is worse than a good running back or a good wide receiver. Because you could find a bad offensive lineman on the street. You could sign him to a minimum contract. So you have to make sure that who you're picking has a chance to be good. People just want to pick linemen to pick linemen. It doesn't really work that way. So I think that's what Chris Furster was saying. If the 49ers know that a skill position weapon is going to be a good player, or they have a better idea that he's going to be a good player, if they have more confidence in a pick like that, then they should go with that player instead of a lineman in whom they don't have a lot of confidence. Their drafting process for the offensive line hadn't been bad. You look at Dominic Pooney last year. They waited till the third round. People were up in arms that they waited until the third round, but he was the highest graded rookie offensive lineman in all of football. So the 49ers did something right in that regard. Their scouting led them to a fit, and their draft decision-making led them to a fit who could start right away for this football team. They've got to do more of the same. They have to find guys who can fit, guys who have a chance to be good. And that's why best player available maximizes your chances, because it's hard to hit in this league. It's really, really hard to make it in this league. If you narrow your chances of success by looking only at a specific position, if you're drafting just to draft a certain position, well, it's going to be even harder. A low probability becomes even lower in that instance. As Mike points out, the 49ers have taken offensive linemen high with Mike McGlinchey and Aaron Banks, first and second round draft picks. Appreciate you, Kevin. Thank you. Modesto, California. I love that. Thank you, Vic. Just drove to Modesto the other day. Chris saying Deebo's the one asking to be traded. He won't play again for the 49ers. Tim Kawakami, by the way, wrote about Deebo Samuel today up on the San Francisco Standard. I can get that up for you guys. Let's go to our sports section. Put this up on the screen. You guys can go check out Tim's article. Deebo Samuel's exit is a sign of the 49ers' new hardline attitude. I think they had a hardline attitude the year before as well, I would offer. Eric Armstead. They said, hey, pay cut or we're not keeping you. And Eric Armstead said, okay, I'll just go to Jacksonville. You guys can cut me. So the 49ers have, it's not like they've been keeping guys around just to keep guys around. When they see a financial inefficiency, they have tried to rectify it. They asked Kyle Juszczyk last offseason to take a pay cut as well. But in the case of Deebo Samuel, it's a little bit different because he requested the trade. There is a little bit of a question regarding whether or not, the 49ers were planning to move him anyway. And then Deebo just beat them to the punch in the exit interview because he knew that San Francisco was going to ask him to take a pay cut or was going to do something that would hasten his departure. So then he said, I want to be traded. Regardless of how we got to this point, it's clear that the fit between the 49ers and Deebo Samuel is not the fit that it once was. I mean, the 49ers, since Deebo Samuel put up the historic All-Pro season in 2021, the 49ers have changed quarterbacks. It's Brock Purdy's show now. It's not Jimmy Garoppolo's show now. Deebo Samuel is older. I mean, he's since signed a big contract that happened in the 2022 offseason. He has since delivered his worst year statistically. He didn't even have good running statistics this past season. Now, you can argue about, is that Deebo? Is that so? Tim mentioned that some people were saying that he's 20 pounds overweight. I think it'd be hard to really hide the 20 pounds. He might have been in a little worse shape because he was hurt early in the season. Whatever led to that. All we know is the final results. All we can look at for sure are the final results. But regardless of whether or not the lower yards per carry and obviously the lower receiving yards were a byproduct of lesser shape for Deebo Samuel or a byproduct of defenses being more ready for what Kyle Shanahan was calling with him as the Swiss Army knife. Regardless of how we got to this point of lower efficiency, the 49ers are at this point of lower efficiency, which means that this is no longer the Deebo Samuel value proposition that they were dealing with in 2021, 2022, and even 2023. And there's a chance here for them to save $15.4 million. That's on the cap overall. That's $15.4 million in cash that can turn around and go to Brock Purdy, who obviously is the more important investment for this football team. And then you talk about Purdy's pairing with his receivers and the fact that Deebo Samuel's not a natural separator. He's somebody, the 49ers were last in average separation at the time of catch last year. He's more of a bulldozer, and Brock Purdy is a touch, intermediate timing passer. You obviously need separation to go with that, or else your man coverage metrics are going to be terrible. Well, you look at all of that and you could say, okay, this is not the most financially efficient play for the 49ers anymore. They decided that they didn't want to extend Deebo Samuel ahead of a lame duck year, especially at the price that Deebo Samuel probably would have wanted. So Deebo Samuel instead asked for a trade entering the lame duck year because he hopes to go somewhere to a team that is going to want to extend him, to give him the financial security that he deserves to ask for. He may not deserve to get it from the 49ers, but he deserves to ask for it. He's a veteran in this league. He's done a lot in this league. So that's why the two sides don't see eye to eye here. I think there still is a possibility that, nothing materializes and Deebo Samuel comes back at a lower price, reduced role, but it's not a very likely possibility at all. Anyway, Tim outlines a lot of the 49ers change of thinking, which was precipitated by Deebo Samuel's down season in 2024. And obviously, larger roster fits. You have to build a receiving core that fits with Brock Purdy as well as you possibly can. Deebo Samuel in his prime fit really well in that 2021 team that was hurt so badly at running back, that needed that short game passing threat to work around what they were trying to deliver with the offensive line they had and with Jimmy Garoppolo playing that year. And it worked really well. That was a good offense that Garoppolo and Deebo Samuel helmed for the 49ers in 2021. But time has taken its toll. Injuries have changed the course of some things. Salary cap dynamics and roster dynamics have changed the course of other things. And now the 49ers have come from point A to point B with Deebo Samuel. And this is the article that Tim wrote about it up on the San Francisco Standard. As George Tedford said, CMC will be back. So will Trent Williams. So will Brandon Ayuk. Ricky Pearsall is probably somebody that we should talk about. The 49ers used a first-round pick on Ricky Pearsall in 2024. They managed to keep Pearsall and Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk on the roster through 2024, but ultimately your younger guys, especially the highly picked ones, if they perform, and Ricky Pearsall was targeted 18 times over the past 2 games, if they perform, they're going to replace some of the older players. That's how you keep this thing sustainable within the salary cap. So that's where the 49ers are right now with Deebo Samuel. Ricky Pearsall took a big step up at the end of the season as far as his workload went. And I think that's going to parlay into him. You can't say replace Deebo Samuel because Deebo Samuel brings such a unique skill set. Again, he's a bulldozer playing wide receiver. Ricky Pearsall is a much niftier wide receiver. But the offense is going to change, and through that change, the 49ers hope to pick up the production slack that will be left behind once Deebo Samuel is no longer on the team. Don't forget Jauan Jennings. He'll be back too after being ejected out of that final game that prevented a 1,000-yard receiving season for Jauan Jennings. What's up with the 49ers getting into multiple soccer ownerships? So the Rangers is a team based in Scotland. The 49ers are in very advanced talks to buy a stake in the Rangers. They already own all of Leeds United. I even toured Leeds United's facility, Ellen Road, in England last offseason, right before training camp. So now the 49ers are moving on to the Scottish League. They want to buy the Rangers over in the Scottish League. That's in Glasgow. That's even further north than Leeds. And it's all part of the 49ers diversifying investments internationally. Maybe they get the London game this year. That would be at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, or they can get the Berlin game. They wouldn't be all too far from their investment or their ownership in Europe. But the 49ers see value. They see investment value in these soccer clubs or football clubs, if we want to use the British and the Scottish terminology. They also see potential value in raising money through selling part of their own team. That's what we talked about yesterday. That was reported by the Sports Business Journal. 10% of the 49ers is up for a $900 million sale. The 49ers are at least exploring that possibility with the $9 billion overall valuation. I think that the larger takeaway from all of this is that ownership in a sports team is good business. It appreciates a lot. If the 49ers are already worth $9 billion and you see valuations growing for soccer teams across the Atlantic Ocean, well, the 49ers can sell 10% of their team to raise some quick cash. $900 million would be nice because they're going to make whoever is buying their team paying cash. It's not a controlling stake, so it's a money-raising venture. And the 49ers can also increase the value of their own portfolio by investing in teams abroad. So they now own Leeds United. That's a sleeping giant in terms of football, the soccer football on the other side of the Atlantic Ocean. And they may soon be owning part of the Rangers out there in Scotland, not the New York Rangers, not the Texas Rangers, the Rangers who play soccer. So it's business for the 49ers, and the 49ers are more than just a football team in the United States. The 49ers Enterprises, that is the investment wing of the entire operation. They want to become a global brand. They already own 100% of a soccer team over in England, and now they may own even more. And that is all part of the march toward becoming a global brand. So the rivalry is this serious in Scotland, huh? I'm not going to, 49ers Scotland is a cool account to put up here right now. So I'm going to take your word for it because you probably know what you think that because the 49ers have, I don't know how many fans of the Rangers rival the 49ers have. It can't be that huge of an amount. But you're saying that the 49ers are going to lose fans because of this. But maybe they're going to gain some fans because of this as well, because the Rangers fans, whom the 49ers will attract with this potential purchase of a stake in the Rangers, maybe they'll come on board as 49ers fans. I know that a lot of Leeds United fans, or supporters, I guess I should say, if I want to keep my terminology correct. I know a lot of the Leeds United supporters who didn't care about American football before now care a lot about the 49ers. So I don't know if that's going to be a material difference. They might lose a few people due to the intensity of that rivalry in Scotland, but you're going to gain some as well, I would think, on the other end. The main thing is that the 49ers want to have investments diversified across different leagues, across different sports. Soccer seems to be a good investment, especially over there, especially in the United Kingdom. Maybe they're going to move on to other sports as well. But that's where the 49ers are right now. I do appreciate that perspective, though, from Scotland. I think this is more of a business decision for the 49ers, though. I don't think this is coming with. You're going to lose fans, gain fans in increments through multiple different business decisions. You have to look at this as an investment effort for San Francisco. I'm sure if you go to England as well, like I'm sure that there are teams who don't like Leeds United who might have had some crossover 49ers fans who might not be as big of 49ers fans anymore because San Francisco now owns Leeds. But at the end of the day, if you're worried about that at every single purchase and transaction that you make, then you're never going to be able to diversify the business portfolio in the most optimal way possible. Marcellus Fulbright coming in. He always has good questions. Chances are that the best player available is going to be a defensive player, probably defensive tackle or defensive end. I would agree that the chances dictate that because the draft is very heavy, especially at defensive tackle. 41 of them have already been invited to the NFL Combine. Only 25 had been invited this time last year. So it's a big DT class for sure. Anyway, the update this morning, Jon Feliciano retires. But he says that if the Bills or the 49ers call him, he'll be ready for a playoff run. He says his knee just can't last for a full season. So unfortunate for Jon Feliciano. He was a good 49er, really helped them in 2023, and maybe he'll help them again. But he has retired, and we did share that news with you up on the screen. Here's one more picture of Jon Feliciano. Thanks for joining the update. We'll talk to you a little bit later today.